Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Genuinely Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. How you doing? I hope you're well. It's been something of a week for me. If you're a Sober Club member, you'll know, because I shared a very long post about the fact that I was lucky enough to go on retreat last week for myself, actually getting to have a bit of self-care. And it's interesting because I had almost cancelled it. I'd literally almost sent a message and said, I'm just too busy. I have got a huge amount going on over these few weeks. And so I had decided I couldn't do it. And then just a little voice in my head said, hold on a minute, you're constantly telling people that self-care is essential. It's not selfish. It's essential. Just go. So I did, and I'm very grateful that I went. It was a wonderful retreat in Derbyshire in the Peak District, and yes, I am looking at the venue definitely for doing something with the Sober Club. It was very healing to be in nature. It really was. And then on the morning that I was leaving, my taxi was ordered for the station very early. And I came down the stairs in this retreat, carrying, like a suitcase, 3 other bags, a cup that I'd had in my room, went flying off the bottom step. Yeah, and of course I was wearing socks on the stairs. I mean, how many times over the years have I nagged my kids not to do that? Ridiculous. I was trying to be quiet because everyone else was sleeping. I literally went flying across the kitchen, much to the shock and surprise of the chef who'd arrived to make everyone breakfast. And there I was kind of apologising, lying there, with my suitcase on top of me, apologising for having startled her. It's funny, isn't it? We're such people pleasers. We apologise for everything. But I thought I was fine. And so I get in the cab and, shake myself down, get some arnica massage oil. Very grateful for that. Get in the cab. And it really wasn't until I got to the railway station that I realised I was quite badly hurt. Absolutely limping and just really badly bruised. And I got onto step 1 of this kind of flight of stairs up to the platform and realised there was just absolutely no way I was going to make it. And it was awful feeling so unbelievably vulnerable. I mean, those kind of moments make you so compassionate and open-hearted, don't they, for people who, are not mobile. We take this stuff for granted. Anyway, this lovely, kind woman saw the look on my face and came and helped me and carried my bag and called the lift, and I was so grateful. And then I had to get in a cab to go from black cab to go from St Pancras to Euston, which is about a 6-minute walk. I've never done that in my life before. Anyway, so moral of the story is, I think that I'd listened to the message. Go and get some self-care for you as well. Go and recharge your own battery. But I don't think I'd fully heard what the universe was trying to tell me to slow down. I mean, what a clear signal. So I'm literally hobbling around, dragging this kind of poorly foot behind me and noticing all my various bruises. And it just really makes you reassess everything, makes you realise how vulnerable we feel when everything is not working well. So I feel very grateful that usually I do have good mobility, but it really does make you feel compassion for people who don't necessarily have everything working brilliantly. I also couldn't see the goddamn payment thing in the cab very well. I was feeling so stressed, as you can imagine. And the cab driver was so grumpy, just couldn't quite find exactly the right buttons to hit to give him a tip. On the gratuity thing. So that didn't play out very well. Anyways, so that was my eventful moment of the week, my being forced to slow down moment, which is interesting because, of course, I really have got the busiest week ever. This is our very last week on Steve Wright in the Afternoon on BBC Radio 2. Most of you know that I have been doing the show for 24 years. 24 years, my goodness. I wouldn't even realise it was that, other than that when I joined the show, I had one baby who was 6 months old, and over the years I've had 3 more. So other than that, the time's gone so quickly, I never would have realised. And it really is almost embarrassing to call it work because it's never really been felt like work. It's always been so much fun being on that show. I'm very fortunate to have had all those experiences, and yeah, it's going to be really, really sad. It is the end of an era. It really is. Anyways, I'll write a blog post and share some of the memories and stuff as time goes on. But this week is just mega busy because also, obviously booked before I knew it was going to be our last week. Is also I also have my sober coach training this weekend, so I'm super busy with that, and I'm launching a new online group coaching program, and that's really interesting because when I had my little trip and got that really big lesson, if you like, about self-care, it made me realize these things always happen when I'm just about to launch something where I'm kind of pointing a finger at everyone else, as it were. And obviously, I have to remember to point them back at myself. The new course that I'm launching for Sober October is called Tapping into Freedom: Secrets to Sustainable Sobriety. And it's all about, health and well-being. It's all about self-care. It's all about becoming your own coach. So teaching you skills and tips and tools to self-coach so that you can remain on that kind of you have that kind of equilibrium. You can learn to self-regulate so that things are not so up and down, so that you're not constantly going back on your own decisions. So obviously I'm linking it with the emotional freedom technique work that I do. That's why I'm calling it Tapping into Freedom, a little bit of a play on words there. So there will be some EFT, we'll do some of that, and lots of other tools and tips and techniques that you can use to just introduce little rituals, little pieces of self-care, little tips, techniques, taken from all my many years of training in all kinds of modalities. So anyways, if you are interested in that course, just go to thesoberclub.com. It'll be there under events or there on the kind of news screen, and love to have you as part of that. It's a group coaching program, which the actual first session starts the 12th of October. But the first week we'll jack up a WhatsApp group, and there's a course, an online course as part of it as well. Anyways, Tapping into Freedom: Secrets to Sustainable Sobriety. That's the online group coaching. Just message me if you want more info. The point I'm making is I think it always happens that way. I remember hearing David Hamilton talking about how when he was commissioned and he was in the process of writing his book about self-love, it's called I Heart Me. It's a really great book. He suddenly had an absolute period where he couldn't write a word. He had a complete writer's block because he was just thinking, how can I do this? Who am I to do this? I absolutely don't love myself enough. So I think it is a case of literally pointing one finger out and another four need to come back to whatever I'm doing, I think. Anyways, I'm healing, so thank you for your concern. If you are concerned about my foot and all the rest of the bits of me that are not feeling up to speed at the moment. Fortunately, my brand is Imperfect. I'm very grateful for that title, my imperfectly natural work that I do. My guest, you will be very pleased to know, is Soberdave. I've known Soberdave now for just over 4 years, I think. And of course, Dave has now become really well known on Instagram for his work as a soberfluencer, is that the word? An influencer who talks about sober stuff. And he is now the author. His book is out, One for the Road. Enjoy the interview. Dave, how are you? I haven't chatted to you for ages. How you doing?
I know we've haven't crossed paths for a while, but I'm doing all right actually. Thanks. I've had quite a lot going on since we last spoke.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about your new book. I know exactly how it feels to get your book finally out, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Just before we do that, let's just back up a bit because amazingly, even though you are prolific, there will be people who don't know much about your story. So let's just back up and talk a little bit about your background, which I know you cover in the book, of course. And yeah, just share a little bit about how it all kicked off for you.
Yeah, well, I'm a typical guy in his 50s who grew up in an era the pub was where we went really, even when we were at school, because we didn't need ID. You could
Mm,
get served pretty much wherever you went and that. And I kind of created my own persona when I was 14, 15. I was never a fighter, but I
mm,
was the drinker. I took to it straight away. And I had quite a fun time with alcohol right in the beginning, but gradually through my 20s and 30s, it changed. And I started drinking at home on my own.
mm,
And my 40s, it really ramped up. And to be fair, Janie, I don't really remember my 40s, which is something I talk about in the book.
mm.
I lost a whole decade of my life because I got stuck into the heavy stuff, vodka, and I ended up drinking a litre a night in the end because I drank to pass out.
Yeah.
Um, and then in my 50s, I realized that if I carried on the way I was drinking, that it would be curtains for me. And even the doctor said to me, I'm a walking time bomb because my
Mm,
blood pressure was shocking. I was massively overweight. My mental health was rock bottom. And I was just on that hamster wheel, as you'd
yeah.
going round
Yeah.
and round saying Monday mornings, I've got to
It'll all be
stop
different. Yeah.
drinking. And
Yeah.
by 4 o'clock, you're in there
Yeah.
buying another bottle,
But were you
So,
seeking help? You mentioned your 40s where you kind of lost a whole decade. Did you seek any help, or did you
no.
sort of rock up to AA? No, no, nothing.
No,
Wow.
I didn't think I could do it, and there was
Right.
part of me that didn't want to do it.
Mm,
But in my 50s, I realised I had to do it, which was a completely different thing.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's when the doctor said to me, "You're a walking time bomb," that I started to realise actually how serious it had got.
Mm,
And I had a massive rock bottom in 2018 where I kind of did a runner to the south coast and spent 4 days homeless basically. It was at Easter and there was nowhere to stay. Everywhere was
mm,
booked. And
mm.
I went to Eastbourne and drank myself to
What
oblivion.
what triggered that, Dave? Can I just ask what do you remember? Why? I know it
Yeah,
sounds like a
yeah.
daft question. Why you went? You don't
No,
have to
no,
share
I
the
had an
details, but
argument.
right. Okay. So
Yeah,
so
I
it's
had
just
an argument at
it's
home.
interesting our responses, isn't it? Something we sort of go right back to our default position. Yeah.
It was like, in the old sitcoms and that, I'm going down the pub. It,
Yeah.
it it was like that. But I
Right.
think it was almost gave me a ticket to go on a bender.
Right.
It was almost
Right.
an excuse like that. And I just got in the car and drove, and I've somehow always ended up at the sea because I find the seaside like
Mm,
really
mm,
comforting and that. But of course, I didn't really see that. I parked up down a side street and went straight into a pub like 10:30 in the morning, drank all the way through, and then went to the co-op and bought a bottle of vodka and thought it'd be romantic to sit on the beach
wow.
watching the moon and the
Mm,
waves.
mm,
But
mm.
it wasn't quite like that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No.
And I did that
Yeah.
for 4 days on the bounce. And
Wow.
but
Wow.
equally, an important thing there, Janie, is that a week before that, I went to the doctors because I was on antidepressants, and I said they don't seem to be working, and he doubled my dose.
Oh my God. Without asking you about your drinking.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
God.
I
God.
was in there literally two
That
minutes, and
scares me. It really scares me.
yeah,
The fact that you were on
yes,
antidepressants at all when you were drinking, I mean, that's medication on top of medication, right? Oh
yeah, it was
God.
awful.
Right. So obviously after that, that was presumably was a bit of a wake up call for you.
It it was and it wasn't because
Mm.
I went back after that to the doctors, and I think she realised what a huge mistake the other doctor had made because I was in there for an hour. And
Right.
as you know, the appointments are really, really short. I think are they 8 minutes or something?
Yeah. 7 to 12
And
minutes, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and she was brilliant, and she put them back down again. But after 3 or 4 days, I seem to have forgotten what I've been through again.
Mm.
And I started like drinking again. And as you know, it doesn't take long before you're back to the full flow of it. And
Mm.
you're
Mm.
almost like laugh about the experience to your mates. But shortly after that, I was doing a counselling course, and I failed all my exams because I was just on this bender.
Mm.
But then my mum became ill and she died. And that just ramped up people more. I was like on an absolute mission then.
Yeah.
So I saw 2018 out. I can't, it really upsets me, Janie, to
To think
even,
back. Yeah, absolutely.
it
Yeah.
was awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then January came and a friend sort of suggested to me that we do 3 months together. And I've said before in this podcast, I kind of laugh because in myself, I didn't believe I could do 3 days,
Mm.
but something was right about it. And
Mm.
I
Mm.
think it was all the subliminal thinking that had been going on previous to that of, I know I've got to do something about it, but I don't
Yeah.
know how, I don't know when, and whatever. And I think it all came together at the right time.
Yeah.
Um, and that evening on the 7th of January 2019, I went to see him and shook his hand straight away. And that was the last time. And I sometimes often wonder what my last drink was because I don't remember.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's an
Yeah.
odd
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you talk in the book about you talk a bit, about your childhood, and not the easiest childhood at all. I mean, I know you and I have had this conversation before, but I now do a lot of work around family constellations, and I do find it just so fascinating to sort of look back at some of that early trauma, as it were, and just see what we made it mean as an adult. um do you think that when you were, in the midst of all of your drinking, do you think you ever had any kind of concept of, I don't know, just being able to take care of yourself, to love yourself, to not sound too woo woo? Did that ever cross your mind?
There was a lot of blame, Janie. There was a lot of finger pointing from myself at what had
Mm, mm,
happened, and I didn't really delve into it. I just used to block it out all the time.
yeah.
Um, but I think it was when my mum was really ill, and I spent the last 2 days with her. She had a hospital bed in her flat,
Yeah.
and it came over me that I needed to forgive her because if people don't know listening, that she left the family home when I was 14
Right.
and left a letter for me. There was no goodbye or anything like that, and I didn't see or speak to her for a year, and I felt really rejected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got in the wrong crowd. It says that in the book, I chose
Mm,
a crowd
mm,
that would accept me as the drinker, not the fighter.
mm, mm,
Um, but it almost like there was a huge sense of forgiveness, and I held her hand, and I said to her, "Mum, I love you, and you're the best mum I could have hoped for." Because what it taught me was incredible resilience and ability to survive.
mm,
A-
mm.
and I
Yeah.
did from an early age. I had to cook, do ironing, do all
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. And now
Mm.
I'm older, I realise that these things happen in relationships and they break down. But as a kid, you never look at it like
No,
that.
of course not. Yeah,
Um,
that's so interesting though, because you're absolutely right. In constellations, one phrase we say a lot is, despite how bad, in inverted commas, it was, you did get enough to survive. You got enough to be you.
yeah,
And when we can sort of own that, it really helps, because we got enough. You got enough to be you, and look at the magic you're creating now.
yeah.
But it's very tough, isn't it, when people are really stuck in that frame of mind where everything feels so hopeless, so completely hopeless. And as you say, you weren't even searching for help. You were just being given antidepressants on top of booze.
Yeah, and it was a terrible cocktail as well because my anxiety was sky high because
Mm,
of the amount I was drinking, but equally I worked for myself and I was a proper functioning alcoholic.
yeah.
Um, I I struggle with that word, by the way, but
Yeah, me
I
too.
think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
easier.
yeah.
People understand it more. But I used to have to run my business, and it was almost like I did it remote control.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was, I went through the motions, and I had my little techniques. Like, for instance, if I went in someone's house, I would move my head away so hopefully they wouldn't smell alcohol on my breath. Or if they
right.
offered me a cup of tea and I was upstairs, I'd say, I'll leave it on the stairs so I wouldn't have to come down and face them. All these little things that we do in our lives when we're
Mm.
drinking to avoid the confrontation of
Yeah,
being
we think we're
found
getting
out
away
and
with it,
whatever.
don't we?
Yeah, and a lot of the time
Yeah.
we're not. But yeah, it was when I stopped drinking, I realised how, yeah, it's incredible how quickly these symptoms go, like
Mm.
anxiety and that horrible feeling on a Monday morning when you wake up and you think, oh no, oh my God, and then you check your phone and you think, oh, did I fall out last night with anyone? And oh my
Yeah.
God, what have I
Yeah.
got ahead today? It's terrible. And when you realize that you haven't got that straight away and you think, well, actually, I didn't drink last night. I knew where I was. I didn't have an argument. I didn't
Yeah.
sleep the best, but the amount of benefits you get is so
Exactly.
refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So when you did finally make that decision, albeit kind of pushed into it almost, what what do you remember about that time? I know you came along to one of my events. You were all fragile. It
Yeah,
was lovely to see you. But you're
do
only a
you know
few weeks
what?
in, weren't you?
I always talk about that event and what you held there because I tried AA, and at first that really worked for me because I have a soft spot for churches,
Mm,
the ambiance of it as you walk in, and I think that's what drew me in. But
mm.
after two, three, four meetings, people were saying the same thing. There were people there that had been sober for 30 years and were
Oh, wow.
saying, but that's fine because it
Mm,
works for them, obviously. But for me, it was like, it didn't quite fit with me. It didn't align with what I wanted really. And
mm,
and
mm,
there was a time that I left there and I thought, "Do you know what? I just don't want to go back to this. It feels a
mm.
bit depressing for me."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I saw your event online, and when I arrived at your event and went in eventually, it changed my whole life because I met you, Rock Sober Boys,
Yeah,
Claire
yeah.
Pooley, William Porter. And I
Oh.
remember being on the train on the way home thinking, oh, these are normal
Normal
people.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And this is a
that
positive approach to sobriety. Yeah, brilliant.
absolutely positive, and it
Yeah.
gave me such a buzz. I felt literally on cloud nine, that it
Mm,
gave me a real feeling of community spirit, that we're
yeah.
all in it together. We all come from different walks of life and we can all do it. And
Mm,
I remember that feeling. And that's why now I talk about the power of community is so
yeah.
important,
Oh God, yeah. Connection, knowing that
Um,
other people are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing, and
yeah.
that, as you say, that they're normal.
Yeah,
You
and why
know.
shouldn't they be? But
Well,
when you
exactly.
drink like I did, I was really isolated to,
Mm.
well, I didn't want to talk about it. And since I've written my book, my dad has said to me, I didn't even know you drank.
Oh wow, really,
Do you know what I
really.
mean? That's how much I kept it and hid it.
Mm.
And I think that's quite common,
Yeah,
because who
yeah,
really goes
yeah.
out in the high street and says, "Oh, do you know what? I'm drinking 4 bottles of wine a night."
No,
They don't.
exactly. Yeah, where people become very secretive, don't they? Very
Mm,
secretive. So when
mm.
you were in those early weeks then and you were starting to realize, okay, there is this positive approach, there is this whole world out there. I'm guessing, it wasn't all plain sailing. You must have had a few mates who made it difficult for you. How did you kind of cope with the sober shamers if you encountered any?
Well, do you know the funny thing was that in the last few years of my drinking, I isolated myself quite
Yeah,
a bit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't have the usual meeting down the pub with the lads to watch the football, and they're
Mm,
calling me names
mm,
because I'm not drinking.
right.
And the people that did know me were really supportive. But I did come across a few people along the way, and I realised soon that I was holding a mirror up to them, really,
Of
and
course. Yeah. Yeah.
that you never give up drinking. What you mean is you never give up
Yeah,
drinking then, you know?
exactly right. And that lovely question, oh dear, did you have a problem? Well, no. Do you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really the further you go, the more you realise that you get the same sort of
Yeah,
response from people, you know. So you kind of get broader shoulders and you relax into it. And now, you know, I have a certain amount of empathy for people
of course.
who
Yeah.
comment like that because you know, there's a lot of people out there who are silent in this thing and
Mm, mm.
don't know who to turn to. So there's a lot of people go on the attack, don't they?
Yeah,
You
exactly,
know.
exactly. But I just think, it's so great. The more people that are talking, raising awareness of this sort of concept of, you don't have to be at rock bottom before you get off that goddamn booze elevator. Life
Well,
can be better.
we're both
Yeah,
good advocates for
coaches,
the
exactly. Yeah,
grey area drinking,
yeah,
and
exactly.
that now is raising more and more awareness
Yeah,
of
it really is.
it's not about the quantity and how often you do it; it's about how it
Exactly.
affects your life, right?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I've talked to women that have, you know, a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, but then they feel lethargic. They don't want to do the homework
Yeah,
or say goodnight to the kids with a bedtime story and stuff like that. So it's actually a lot
yeah.
more broad these days, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, I mean, obviously the dynamic is the picture's changing, which is wonderful. The tide is turning. We've both done loads of events and work with around great alcohol-free drinks. There's so much more out there now.
Mm.
What would you say you encounter? I mean, particularly for guys in this space. I'm interested as to whether most guys do struggle with the sort of down the pub thing, or is that a bit of an outdated concept?
No, I don't think it is. I think guys struggle more
Do
because,
you?
yeah, that's an era, an age group thing as well, I think.
Mm, mm,
Most of my clients, most of the people that follow me are women, 86%, in fact. But I don't think that's unusual.
mm.
Um, but the men that follow me are curtain twitchers. So they
Yeah,
watch, you
yeah,
know, and they
exactly.
watch and they look at the comments and stuff. And I might get a DM and it might say, you know, look, I'm struggling, don't know what to do. And I
Yeah,
also think men go a little bit further because for instance, it'd be the denial of it's only a few beers with the lads that
yeah,
weekend
yeah,
or
exactly.
stuff like that, you know. And I'm really working hard to change that narrative, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you know, I'm now 58, right? I gave up when I was 54. And I'll try and make it accessible for men to feel that they can talk about mental health and
absolutely. Yeah.
their
Because I mean,
drinking
at one
without
time they
even.
didn't at all, did they? I mean, I know it sounds terribly cliche, but it honestly is true. At
No,
one
it's true.
time they men, I mean, most of us didn't, but certainly guys, you would never get them discussing mental health. It would just
Well,
be like,
it
oh,
wasn't a done
for
thing,
God's
was
sake,
it?
how very American, really. I mean,
Yeah, and
seriously, that is the truth.
yeah, it's the truth, and it's
Mm.
almost going back to cavemen days that you know, men go out and they get the brontosaurus while the woman cleans a cave, kind of thing. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah.
so old, out of date, and that's why I quite often. But when you listen on my podcast, there's a lot of male guests now.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, which is brilliant.
You
Yeah, I mean,
know,
me too.
which
I
is
get a lot of guys.
interesting.
Yeah, I get a lot of guys too, and it is fantastic. I've interviewed Alex Howard this week, and yeah, there are a lot of guys in this work, and a lot of guys who've come to it. It's brilliant. It really is great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the book then, and the idea for the book. I guess it stemmed from the podcast, and you thought, why not do the book too?
Yeah, it all goes hand in hand. But you know, I mean, the podcast I decided to do almost like overnight, and
Yeah.
the first episode went to number 4 in the Apple chart. It was
Yeah.
just I couldn't
Fantastic.
believe it, right?
Yeah.
But the book was a whole different thing. I
Yeah.
mean, the irony of that was when I was drinking, I used to say, "Oh, I'll write a book about this one day, the amount I know, and stuff
Yeah.
like that." But from start to finish, it was really challenging, as you know,
Mm.
writing a book. And there's a million things you have to do.
Yeah.
But it opens cans of worms that you didn't even think were there
Well,
as well.
yeah, that's very true, actually. That is very true. I was talking about that just today, funnily enough. I was because I'm putting a course together, which is a kind of online program, and a lot of the stuff in there is based around taking really good care of yourself and sort of regulating your nervous system and
Yeah.
and self-care practices. And it's just been so interesting because one by one the universe has been showing me that I'm not doing it for myself enough. So it's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, as soon as I try and kind of put this content out, I get, it's that point one finger out and you get four coming back at
I
yourself.
know.
I bet you had that with the book. It's like, oh my God, who am I to write this? A lot of people go through that.
Absolutely. It's like that saying, a car mechanic never services his car. There, there was
Yeah.
a lot in there that I was thought, God, where's my self-care? What am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I tried to make it a bit of a manual as well
Yeah.
as memoir and
Yeah.
motivational as well.
Sure.
Um, I talk about choosing sobriety. I pepper in a bit about my childhood and what took me to drinking because I think a lot of people find that relatable.
Yeah.
Uh, the truth about alcohol, we romanticize about it. Someone might say, "Oh, can have a nice couple of glasses of wine on a Friday night," and that. But actually, the truth is, no, you can have a bottle and a half and pass
Yeah.
out.
Exactly.
Uh, pink, the pink cloud hitting walls. The struggles. Of course, grey area drinking.
Yeah.
Sarah Drage, she has a whole chapter what
Oh,
it's
that's
like growing
interesting.
up
Yeah. Growing
as
up
a
to
child of an
alcohol.
alcoholic.
Yeah, that's a very
Um,
interesting
yeah, that's
take, isn't it?
raised a lot of interest, that
I bet
chapter, and
it
an
has. Yeah.
important one as well. But also I talk about relationships
Yeah.
because they change as well.
Of course.
Like a
Absolutely.
lot of people meet when they're both drinking, and one stops drinking,
Yeah.
that can cause all sorts of different issues. But also, it's important to talk about the partner of someone who does drink because not
Yeah.
many people talk about that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one day at a time, which I said to you at the beginning of this before we chatted,
Mm,
I'm treating life like that at the moment. It's some days you get up and you can go to bed feeling great and wake up
mm,
really down, and
yeah.
you don't know why,
Well, I think it's
So
interesting, isn't it, that we a lot of us have such high expectations of being sober, and we fully expect that certainly after we've done the kind of hard bit, the first, few months or whatever, we fully expect all of life to be perfect. And so if we have a
mm,
shit day or, we just feel really down, it's almost like there's something wrong with the
yeah,
sobriety. And then we
yeah,
get that fading effect bias come in, like, oh, life would, was great in the past when I could just have a drink.
yeah.
No, it wasn't. It never ever was. And you always had shit days then as well. It's just that
It's
is life.
true.
It's
It's
life. We have
true.
to learn to feel the feels, don't we? We have to learn some emotional intelligence because most of us have very little. We're not taught to sit with our feelings and be okay with our emotions. We really aren't.
But it's interesting what you say there as well, is because I find a lot of people when they get sober, they blame the sobriety
Yeah.
if there's something that's not going quite
Yeah,
right.
exactly. It's
And
as if
actually,
it would be
it's
better.
life. Yeah, but it's
Exactly.
life as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, try and remember when you were drinking and the amount of times life was hell,
Exactly.
and the
Exactly.
romanticizing is like if you remember a relationship from the past where you've left it for a reason and a month later you remember the good
Mm,
bits and not the
mm,
bad and you go back. And as soon as you've gone back, you realize why you left in the first place.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people do with booze. They give it up, go a month or so, and then think, "Oh, I can have a couple because I miss it." And after that, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm back where I am."
Yeah.
So it's important to try and remember those times and just keep plowing through, because
Yeah.
it's
I
never
think
linear, is it?
no, exactly. I think that's it. I think really noticing is the key, isn't it? Really noticing
Mm.
what's going on. Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you've got a whole bunch of stuff in the book. And I hear your launch was didn't quite go the way as planned. It's been one of those things that we call sod's law, isn't it? The timing
Oh my
was
God.
not ideal for you.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because I had a book launch live-a-thon arranged and whatever, and
Mm,
someone messaged me on the Thursday and said, the Queen's died, and which was awful news,
mm.
absolutely awful. But being absolutely honest, I was like, I can't believe it. you know, I had to postpone everything and stuff,
Yeah.
but everything's meant for a reason. And, you know, these things happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, on a side note, I thought the Queen's funeral was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Mm.
You know, I watched it with my dad, who's 92,
Oh, wow.
and we just sat there and I made him lunch and that. And it was a real special day, you know, to
Yeah.
sit with him. And he's not exactly a royalist, but I think he really enjoyed it that because he's just lost his partner as well.
Mm.
So it was us coming together, and I gave him a signed copy of the book and whatever, and it was a lovely, lovely day.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just one of those things, and you know, it's long content, isn't it? As you know, it's always out there like the podcast. So it was
Yeah.
just an
Oh,
unfortunate
absolutely.
thing.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, years ago, I wrote several books on holistic living, years ago, and with various publishers that I would work with, it would be a case of, well, if your book doesn't sell, within the first 3 weeks, don't even bother phoning up the publisher because, we ain't interested. I mean, it really was
Mm,
like that. I had a deal with Orion, and I mean, literally all kinds of things went wrong, and the book didn't kind of chart within the first 3 weeks, and that was it. I was out on my ear.
yeah,
But then
I
I
know.
worked with Hay House publisher, and it's
Yeah,
completely different. I mean, completely different, and they're in for the long haul. And who cares if it takes 2 years to sell? It doesn't matter. It's all the amazing people that you'll reach now that so much more is done online rather than just in bookshops. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
ultimately it's frustrating, but I don't think you need to worry.
It's
So.
brutal though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I
The
mean,
whole
it's
process.
like having a baby. It really is. I mean, you
Yeah,
you 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 literally bare your soul
yeah.
and go through this process. And if nobody kind of wants to buy it, you're heartbroken. I mean,
Well, you
literally
invest
heartbroken.
such a, as you say about you bare your soul, you invest
Yeah,
2, 3 years into it and it
totally.
goes out. And I can understand now people who write plays and stuff like that and they get reviews in the
Oh
press, bad
God, yeah. Well,
reviews, and
you
it's
you
like,
often read. They say they're never going to read. They never read their own reviews. I've seen a
yeah,
lot of actors say that. You can understand why, can't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But well done you. It's a it's such an achievement, and it
Thank you.
I think the more of these books are out there, the better. I mean, really, I think it's just great. The more awareness we can raise, that and I think
Yeah,
we all resonate with different people and different stories, and there'll be guys who read your book. I mean, well, everyone reads your book, but there'll be some people read your book, and you literally, bit by bit, will practically be, oh my God, that's my life. That was my background. I grew up in an area
yeah,
like that. I grew up, I went through that I lost a decade. And it's so powerful that we can, connect and share these stories because, it's one thing hearing I don't know, Go Sober for October campaign tell us, oh, why
mm,
don't you pop a bit of money in a tin and reduce your drinking? Well, how is that going to change anything? What you really want is to be inspired by someone who's been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and life is better, you know?
absolutely. And with these kind of books as well, there's always something, isn't there? There's a nugget of something
Exactly. A little light bulb
in
moment.
there.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And I think these days, the more we get out there to support people, the better it is. And I think things are definitely changing since we met. 4 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
things have dramatically changed, and there's so many different things now that people can. There's on like your groups you have, and
Yeah.
books, podcasts. There's so many different things. So I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It is. It is great. I met someone a few weeks ago, and she'd literally been kind of Googling around. In fact, I'm not even sure if maybe she was just on Instagram or something. And up until that point, she'd only ever done like conventional kind of rehab and AA, and absolutely nothing had worked for her. And she came across my one of my Sober by the Sea events, and literally just kind of took the plunge and thought, oh God, yeah, I'll do it. I'll just do it. And it was just so unbelievable. I mean, how brave of her, bless her, but so
Yeah,
unbelievable because her world opened up to a whole new world that she had
yeah.
never come across. And that's what's exciting, isn't it? Like you, when you first came down to the self-care and sobriety, like, oh my God, there's a whole world of people who are normal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, and it's it changes not just the person, but it has a ripple effect to the people around them as well.
Yeah. Oh,
The
absolutely.
amount of families that message me and say, you spoke to my husband 2 years ago and he hasn't had a drink since, and everything
Oh,
has changed, and that kind of thing that you don't even know it's going on
yeah,
behind the
I know.
scenes, but you get a message like that, and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It just has a ripple
The
effect.
ripple effect's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So anyway, we should just give the details about the book. Tell us where people can get it.
Well, it's called off the back of my podcast. It's called One for the Road, and it's now available on Amazon, Amazon Prime, all over
Yeah.
the world. Really,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Fantastic. Well, it's great to chat to you, Dave. Really, really lovely to see you doing well, and very, very proud of you getting your book out. That's great.
Thank you,
And
Jamie. I
I
really
hope we meet up
appreciate you
soon.
asking me on. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. It'd be
yeah,
lovely to see you.
yeah. It'd be great. Let's do something soon. Take care,
All
Dave.
right,
Really
Jamie.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dave. We'll put that link in the show notes. Don't forget, then, we have the new online group coaching program. This is for you if you don't necessarily want one-to-one coaching right at this point, but you would like some support making sobriety stick. So maybe you're sober curious, or you're thinking about it, or maybe you've been around the block a few times. Maybe you're on week 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 2 months in, and you're just thinking, how can I make this a little easier for myself? What are the secrets to sustainable sobriety? And that's what we're gonna give you. Their tips and their tools for self-care, for regulating. There's going to be some good stuff shared there, and of course based around some emotional freedom technique stuff as well. So you learn some really cool skills that you can use for anything, actually. And then following on from that course, I'll be doing one for people who've been sober for a while, more about self-care in sobriety moving forward. And living your best life without the booze, really. It's ultimately what we all want, isn't it? So DM me if you want any more information, or just go to thesoberclub.com, click on events, you'll find information there. And we also have a Champneys retreat coming up in November. Not sure at the moment whether it's the first weekend or the second weekend, so message me for more information. That will be sorted out very soon, I'm hoping. And don't forget, if you are looking for support and you're looking for connection, it's all there at the Sober Club. You can always message me, even if you're not a member of the Sober Club. Just drop me a message and tell me that you're doing this thing, that you're going to give it a go. I think it's really important to tell someone. It really is. And I'll reply if I can. And just always reach out. And if you're struggling, reach out as well. The people do have a tendency to just retreat within and think, oh, nobody else is as bad as me. Nobody else has been through what I'm going through. I'm not going to share it. And it's absolutely not the case. When you bring things out into the open, they're much more easily able to be healed. And also it makes things seem a lot less awful, really, when you share them, particularly if people then go, oh wow, well that was me too. I felt exactly the same way. You really aren't on your own. So drop me a message if you're just starting out. Always reach out if you've got anything going on. Don't hole up. It really is the worst thing. Power of connection, remember. It's super, super important. So you know where I am. You know where to find me, at Janie Lee Grace. Some of you might hear our last show on Radio 2. Thank you to any of you who are Radio 2 listeners who've been listening to the show for the last 24 years, or part of them. It's much appreciated. It's a very odd week for me, very odd. I can tell you, it really is the end of an era. But I'll reveal more about other bits and pieces that are coming up in due course. Have yourself a fantastic week, and make sure you stay committed to your choice. If it's your choice to be sober, don't let anyone else rain on your parade. A couple of people in the Sober Club have been telling me that, they've got kind of mean friends. I'm sure they don't mean to be mean, but friends who just say, oh, you'll be no fun now. You're not drinking. I'm not that crazy about going away with you this weekend. I know we planned it, but you're going to be no fun if you're not drinking. The reverse is true, actually. It really is drunk people who are boring. It really is. There is nothing glamorous about drinking. The Emperor's not wearing any clothes at all. Just listen to your heart, listen to your soul, and then you will absolutely know what the right thing to do is. Have you got any suggestions for guests for me for the podcast? Always open to know who you'd like me to interview. Drop me a message. If you can connect me with some amazing people, even better. And thank you for listening. I don't know if I say that often enough. I'm really grateful. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And for those of you who drop me messages and write nice reviews and rate it and review it and all of that stuff. Really, so much appreciated. See you next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.